get to the question is like, can you show me if you have particular
my approach, I need to repeatedly iterate through all the iterable values, and therefore I fetch the iterator of the iterable. And in order to be able to get a model, I use an array list.
Yeah, you need
of a pair writable. Oh yeah, previously I used I think it was just text in here, and basically after I write the cache, basically the cache will get replaced by all of the cells will be replaced by the same last value.
Yes.
And so I did a bit of research and found a solution that I just, instead of having text in here, just have string. And I'm just wondering, will the problem appear again if I start using pair writable again for the...
So it is not because of the text, it is because of how the iterable works. So if you have paid writable here, then exactly like you have done here.
So I've got to have new each time whenever I add.
Yeah, exactly like this. So you don't have any other choice.
Okay, right. Except you just try. So as long as it is /t, that's fine. Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the tutorial session today. For today, I'm going to have two activities. The first one is having the sort
function in Hadoop, and the other one is how we can run our Hadoop jobs on a real cluster. And for that, we are going to use Google Cloud Platform. So let's start with the first activity. So I want you to copy and paste the code that you had for counting the words. So please create a new project. And then create a new class. I will call it word count 2. So the code should be the same as before, so I only copy and paste the code that we have already written. So this is the same code that we had for counting the words inside the text one. Now we want to order our output based on the key values. So let's start with looking at the output at the moment to see what we have in the output. So I will run the code. So we need to specify the input and output of our program. So I have this input.txt and also the output directory for the result. So if I refresh my project, I will see this output directory, and here is the result. So as you can see here, the output is already ordered by the key. So because these are uppercases, that is why they are ordered. So what if I want to order my output in a descending order, not the ascending? Or vice versa. I need to implement my own comparator for ordering the result. So we can define in our job that we want to use a comparator. So I can use So I need to set this sort comparator class. And so I need to implement my own comparator. I will call it my comparator, and this is the class. So we need to implement this class now. Then click on the red icon here, as you can see here. Then we can add a new constructor. Moreover, I need to create another constructor called, again, the same name. It should be public this time. And it has no arguments. Then I can call this class and true. So what the main thing that we need to do is to implement a function for comparing objects. So we need to right click here and go to the source. Inside the class, right click, go to the source and override implement methods. Then we need to override this compare method, which is called compare, writable comparable, writable comparable again. So I know that I'm going to compare text writables, yeah? Because our key is text. So I can convert these A and B to text format. So I would say I have this AA, which is the same A, but it is a text. I can cast it to a text. I can do the same for the second object. This function will be used for comparing the object. So I am defining how my object should be ordered. B and let's call it BB. Then here you can compare text. So AA dot compare to BB. So based on, by default, this compare to function will compare two strings. We have it, so I don't need to implement anything. But I can define if my order should be ascending or descending. So by multiplying this function by -1, I can change the order. So if it is ascending, it will be descending this time. So I save, I remove my output. Let's check the output again. So as you can see, the order has changed. this time the W, the word, has been ranked 1 because we have ordered the keys based on the reverse order of the text. So that is why we have A here, but W at the top. So if you didn't have the chance to complete your code, please complete it. So we will go to the next step. So next question is that what if we want to order our keys and values based on the value, not based on the keys? So we cannot do it in Hadoop unless we have one more job. So in the next job, if we want to order by values, we need to convert the values to keys and then keys to values, and then Hadoop will automatically order our keys and values based on the new key, which is the value. So we don't have other option. So if you want to order by values, which is usually needed in many cases, especially in this word count, because we are usually interested in the words which have high frequencies. So if we want to order our output based on the word count, not based on the word, we need to have another job after the first job. So in the first job, we can calculate the word and their counts, and the next job, we can reverse the key and value and sort based on the values. But we are not going to do that in this tutorial. And I will move to run our jobs on clusters. So for that, first of all, we need to create a jar file for our project. So it is actually a zip file, which inside we have the compiled version of our classes. So how we can create a jar file in Eclipse? So for that, you need to go to the File, Export, and then inside Java, you will have this jar file. And if you click on Next, then you can specify which classes you want to have inside your jar file. So for example, I want to only to have this word count. Then you can also specify where you want to just put this jar file. And then finish. So this is the file that we created on my desktop. So this is a jar file. If I open it with an archive, I would see what is inside this file. It has compiled version of my classes. And inside this meta-inf, there will be some information about, for example, what is the main entry point of your jar file. So you can specify, for example, classes. Anyway, we don't need this. So, but when we are running our jar files over cluster, we need to specify the main class for our jar file, because in the jar file we will have lots of classes. So what is the main class in the jar file? We should have done it when we were creating the jar file. So let's do it again. I will create a jar file, then word count. Here you can browse and select the main class for your jar file. So I have this word count2 class, which has the main function which I want to call when I want to run my code on a cluster. So I just select the main class, then I click on finish. So this time if I open the file and go to the meta-inf, so you can see that inside the meta-inf we have like main class word count2. So in your case it would be the same class that you have selected. So please go to the course website, and you have been asked to create an account on Google Cloud Platform. If you haven't done it, please do it. You can just register and get your free account by following the link. You need to specify your email and username for that. So please do it, because without it, you cannot follow me.
So shall I continue? Okay. So please go to the lab menu here, then click on the Hadoop on cloud platform. So you don't have access to it, just let me change the access. Okay, now you can open the page for Google Cloud Platform. So if you couldn't create the jar file, don't worry, you can go to the GitHub, my GitHub page. Here. So this is the link. If you can't see, don't worry. So this is the link. You please open and download the jar file. If you don't have, so you have already registered. Please ignore this coupon. It is not gonna work. So you have your own account now. Then we need to log in into our account on Google. So click on the link. You will be directed to this page. So I have some projects, and my default project is called My Project. So if you don't have a project, I guess you will be notified to create one. So if it is your first time, anyone here, if it is your first time, let me see your page so I can help the others as well. Did you log in?
Yeah.
So, okay. So you had this project, or you created it? Okay, that's fine. Okay, you should have a project here. As you can rename it or name it, whatever. You create a new project. I have this My Project. So then, in the next step, we are going to create a cluster. So the main reason that we are creating this Hadoop jobs and coding in Hadoop is to run our code on multiple nodes, not a single machine. So if it is just a single machine, you don't need to use MapReduce. It is an overhead. But we are using Hadoop because we want to run our code on multiple nodes simultaneously to do the jobs faster and efficiently. So click here in this icon on top, on the right top here. Then you need to find this data proc here. So it should be somewhere in your list. I have already pinned it, so you might need to just search for it here. Here, as you can see, it is almost close to the end of the list. So data proc, and then we need to create a cluster. So we need to click on this cluster icon. So I don't know why my account has been closed. So please go to billing here and click on the billing. So you should see the billing account that you added, like the $50 that you have. So your status shouldn't be closed. So did you check? Is it open for your account? Okay. Let me just try to get a new billing. So Hopefully I got my account back. So next we want to create a new cluster. So please click on the create cluster. Then you need to just give your cluster a name. Then choose a region for your cluster. It should be in Australia because we are in Australia. So I just pick this Australia Southeast 1 and the first zone. So please don't forget to specify the region and remember what you picked. So it is Australia Southeast 1 and the zone is A. We are going to create a standard cluster with one master and some workers. I don't want to pay much, so I will have only like the minimum amount of disk, which is 15 gigabytes. So you can also specify the number of CPUs for the master. It is the default 4. Then for the worker nodes, each of the nodes should have like 4 CPUs. You can pick any number you want. Then again, the minimum amount of disk. So the disk can be SSD or the standard disks. If you have money, you can pick SSD, and it should be faster. So the number of workers. So if you have like 10 workers, your job will be done, much faster. So I will use only 4 nodes, and each of the nodes have like 4 CPUs. So overall, I have like 16 CPUs. Then click on, don't forget this part. Click on the gateway, component gateway. So it will enable your access to the cluster using the web or any other interfaces. Then it is up to you. You can, if you have money, just spend as much as you want. Excuse me? The region is Australia. So there should be only a single entry for Australia, and it is Australia Southeast 1. So actually, it is the location of your servers. Where should it be? It should be close to you. Then we can create our cluster. Thanks to Google platform. So I cannot use this name, I guess. So I need to with another name. So my cluster would be my cluster 2. So I have another cluster here. So it will take some time for the cluster be built. So be patient. So while we are waiting for the cluster, so usually for Hadoop jobs and Spark, we use HDFS to store data. In Google platform, we don't have HDFS, but we have Bigtable. But it would cost you a lot if you want to try the Bigtable. That is why I would avoid using Bigtable, and instead I will use a simple disk management option that we have in Google Cloud Platform, and it is called storage. So I am still waiting for my cluster to see the result. So we need to put our data somewhere on the cluster. Yeah, it cannot be in our own system. We should also copy our data to the server. So now my cluster is ready, and I can use my cluster. I can run anything. I can log into my cluster. I can run anything that I want. I have access to the resource, but I will tell you how you can access to the real servers by some commands. But first, we want to create a new storage to put our files in for our input and output. So please find the storage from the list and then click on browser. Make sure that you are using the same project. Don't change the project. If you have some other projects, make sure that here it is the project that you use for creating the cluster. Then in this page, we are going to create a bucket. A bucket is something like a folder, a directory, that I will use for storing the data for my specific job. So I will create a bucket. The name of your bucket weirdly should be unique in the world. So if you cannot use like my bucket because it has been already used, it is taken by someone. It is not me. Just pick a name, any name that you want, but don't forget the name. So I would call it Hadoop bucket, which is also taken. I don't know. Use your Z ID. It is not taken, I guess. So anyway, so find a name for yourself and then press, you can choose, based on, for example, how much storage size you want to have. And it is like this much per gigabytes per month. So it is super cheap. We can have like 1 gigabytes. So it is free just leave it blank. Then it will also cost us for the operation that we have, like accessing the data, writing the data. Anyway, so then you can click on the create. We don't care about the rest, so just create your bucket. And here is your bucket. You can upload files, and then you can access it. So we are almost there, but we need to have access to our cluster. We can use this website, the Google Cloud Platform, to directly submit our jobs and create files on Bucket. But I want you guys to use the command line instead of using this browser. Because in real life, we usually automate everything. So you need to have some facilities like, creating files automatically on your cluster and this kind of thing. So we need terminals. So don't use this UI for uploading your files. I will show you how you can do it by some simple commands thanks to the Google. So let's go back to here. And I will ask you to download and install gcloud SDK. You can follow the link here. Installing this SDK depends on your operating system. So while you are installing, you will be asked for entering your project name. You need to select. It will show you a list of your project. You need to, for example, enter the number of your project. Then you need to also select the region of your cluster, which is South East Australia. But first, you need to go to this page. And based on your operating system, just follow the instructions and install the gcloud. So it will take like a few minutes at least. So please follow the links and install gcloud. You need to have a Google account for installing. If you don't have, I don't know what you can do. Do you mean sorting thing? We cannot install those things in CSC machines, definitely. So we don't have access to install anything. So you need to do it in your own machine, not CSC accounts. Because you need to just close your terminal and so I assume that you installed the G-Cloud. If you have installed but you have trouble running the G-Cloud init function, just close your terminal and open it again. Okay, let's go back to the work. So next thing that we want to do is to copy a file from our oven directory to the bucket that we have created. So the command is as simple as this. So you need to write in your terminal, you need to say gsutil copy cp, and the input file, the text file that you have created for the word count, then your bucket name. So let me open my oven terminal. So I have two buckets. One is called UNSW bucket, and the other one, which is empty, is HDFS replacement, whatever. So please pay attention to your oven bucket name, not mine. So we need to say gsusutils copy the input file, and then just the bucket name. So it should copy the file into the server. So if I go to my bucket, I should see my file, the input file. So next thing is to run our code. So we have already created the jar file. So copy the command here, and you need to change the cluster name and also the bucket name based on your created cluster and bucket. So I need to change it to HDFS replacement. Then the jar file. The jar file should be in the same directory that you are running the command, or you can just give the path. Don't forget your region. If you have followed the same as I did, so it should be the Australia Southeast 1. And the name of your cluster. So what was my cluster? I don't remember. I need to check. So I go to Dataproc and clusters. So my cluster 2, I will change it to my cluster 2, and then you can run your Hadoop job on the cluster. So it should start running. So now your code is running on the cluster that you have created. We are waiting for our job to finish. And done. So if I go to my bucket, the bucket that I just created, the HDFS one, so I will see the output. So this is the output of my job on a cluster. As you can see here, we have multiple files. It is not like the case that you run in your own machine. So why we have more than one file here? Because it is generated by many reducers. So each reducer, they created a single file. So some of them are empty and some has values. For example, in part 1, I can access to the file using this link. Then I can download it. If I open it, you will see that it has some values inside. You can also use this gsutil to copy your output to the same directory that you are working on. So if you want to have your own cluster, Hadoop cluster, you need to own your computers, some nodes, then install Hadoop and manage your systems. If you have hardware failure, it means that you need to just replace everything yourself. You need to pay for all of it. You need to pay someone to maintain your server. But if you use cloud platform like Google or Microsoft's, Amazon's, so you don't need to take care of anything. You don't need to install anything. By just clicking on some links, we created a cluster of Hadoop nodes and masters, and we run our code easily. We didn't do any complicated stuff. If you want to install Hadoop yourself on multiple nodes and manage it, it should be a headache. I have done it. I know it. So you can also test. You can try, for example, creating a cluster of computers using each other's laptops and then install Hadoop on each of them and link them together. So try to do it and submit your own job on your own cluster. It will help you to learn more, but in this world, we are not going to do it in real life. And we usually use these platforms to do the job. So thank you very much for paying attention and following my instructions. If you have any question regarding the assignment or regarding the tutorial today, I will be here to answer. So thank you very much for attending.
Do we have to use like kind of output that is text, or I have to use an array variable or any variable?
So as long as it is a complex object, it's not a single text, you need to use
But
your custom.
it's a string. You will use the two
At
string.
the end, yeah, but it is not always writing. So the reducers will aggregate the keys, but again, we have multiple keys. So the same object should be again aggregated. So if you convert everything to that, then it will, use your memory, which is one thing that we don't want you to do. And the assignment is just for the sake of practice. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So that is why we are pushing you guys to do it correctly.
Okay, so for the value, if you use like writable, custom writable, so for keys, can I just use text for key?
The key should be like two pairs.
Yeah.
Two pairs of
So
movies. So it is also a complex object, and you need to have your customer.
Yeah, at the
You mean that we needed to, it is necessary we need to use the IP writable here, not the text. We are not allowed.
Text is also writable. But based on the specification, maybe if you implement it only using text, you can implement everything in this assignment. But so it is based on the specification, you cannot do it. So if you have like a couple of objects tied together, like two movies, you should have a class or a pair of movie, and the class should be writable and comparable if it is a key.
So we should create two custom
I don't know how many, maybe
as,
more than
as much as
as much as you need.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
if, for example, you may need one for array, one for pair of movies, one for
input, one for output.
I don't know. It's just,
Okay, so
I have implemented it myself. I just at least need for
yeah,
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think that right from the multiple writable will be much easier to use only one for input and output. So I may use one for input, one for output.
So don't use text.
So just don't use text.
Don't use text
value-
like appending one movie, comma.
Yeah, that was one point over.
Don't do it.
So we just not allowed to use text in this assignment. Am I right?
I didn't
No, but so he's me that for mapper, reducer, everything, no text here. No text here.
for input, because we are reading the text.
Okay. So mapper, okay. So mapper we can use text.
So if it is like a simple object, like a movie, you don't need.
Like only
You
one
can use
user,
text.
only one movie.
Yeah, but if it is like a user a rating together, tied together, and you want to just, then you need to think about
We just
computation.
want to use the text to output the final result. But
Don't worry about the final result. For final result, you need to implement the two-string function. You don't care what is it.
I need. Oh, okay. So you can.
Just follow what I.
Yeah, but the assignment didn't say that much that clear that.
It is in the marking schema. So please, guys, please read the marking schema.
Yeah, but mark is well.
So it is important because you will be marked based on what you see there. If something is not there, you don't need to do it. If something is there and you don't do it, you will lose mark.
Sorry.
As clear as this.
Yeah, but the well-defined, I don't think well-defined is a clear instruction. That
So
can use
I guess
text
I
for complex-
described it very well here, and you know.
Yeah, I
So
already know
that is
I already know
what
here.
they will mark you based.
Yeah, I don't know, but okay.
Also read. Your friends on the web semester they post questions, and there will be answers by me, by the lecturer, or someone else.
Yeah, but married under.
There are lots of but it would help because sometimes we are answering the same question over and over. I have asked the course admin to create like frequently asked questions and also clarify the marking schema. I asked her today.
Okay, so we need. So that's the short question. I know that. I just want a clear answer.
So I guess I was Because you know,
So we need.
you want to put everything inside the text.
No. I don't want to make sure that we should use this, not this. First one, use this one, and use it on this. That's the
It should be kind of array-writable because it is an array. So inside that array you have other writable objects.
Thank you.
No worries.
I don't know how to just I'm already done.
Begin from and then go to the
Yeah,
treasury and
I
run.
have to already, but it's not work.
Go to the treasury.
电影的系统就是每一个
Close and open it again. Open it again.
I don't think.
对，都是需要自己留意的。
Huh?
Just log in with your Google account.
Hi. So about the exercise. So after the first mapper, this is what I will get by pass text it's like everyone else. And to build something like this, it's like a combination of tools, right? So what I do, actually because it sounds a bit inefficient, so what I do is like I will have to pass every single element in this interval to create an array list, and from this array list I build something. Because I don't have a way to sort of like avoid iterating through everything. Right? You have to, right? You have to iterate through. There's no option to like do index sync, right?
There's no match.
Right. So actually you have to create like an empty list first, like array list. Yeah. Basically like this. Okay. I'm just too inefficient because I have to iterate through every single item.
You don't
build
have any
array
option.
list.
In this solution that you have, you need to pair images. So pairing needs like two inner loops.
Yeah, it's like a nested loop, right? For I equals 0 and then j equals I plus 1. No other option.
Just use Gmail. Your Gmail account. You are giving access to the
I
same.
don't have to use the one in
I
here.
don't think so. I
I think so. So just my own.
Just Gmail. Just give access.
Reducing phase, by default,
What the fuck?
so when we're reducing, I type the default value is being sorted, increasing, so sending orders on the key by default. When you reduce, we have to shuffle and sort when reducing.
Can you show, can you give me examples? Just write down your output, because I don't know what is your mapper and what is your reducer. No. So this is the output of your first. So what's the key?
Why do you want to sort? This basically removes the unique. Otherwise, you have
Oh, you want to just compare it. So when you have like because I use M1 and is like M1 dot M2. So as long as M1 is less than 8 or less than 8, you put in front. So it's like some sort of placement. Yes, yeah, otherwise that means the best rules M1 and M2 will be different than M2 and M1, but just compare them, M1. So it's going to be like...
The dummy solution is
I would have only 2 reviews and 2 methods.
you will lose more. So that is the point. That is why it becomes limitation.
Just use compare.
Yeah, you need to think about how we did earlier. So when you are implementing the key, which should be a custom be the same as so when you are comparing, this is there is nothing like that. M2 and M1 is the same as M1.
But yes, I think you have to compare, otherwise it will be duplicate. But M2 and M1 and M1 doesn't matter.
除了单个的那种我超级要还好，单个的更强。用一个 P 就用一个它这个 P 你传，反正就是那种复杂音调，都得有个。说的非常开心。
Just get started.
So you can just that is exactly what you gave the answer. I didn't. I wouldn't tell me the answer. You didn't tell me the answer.
So that is valid or something right? You want these to be free? There's no other B itself or you valid.
因为它写完第二句的时候，它就多了一个叫。这一天完全是东西。叫不，你多它就
调度有这个，但是每个调上各自分到那么多层面，不认为它的那个。
I really just don't need to use the certain method, to be honest. Just need to use them so they can look at everything. But I cannot write because I want to think of like a simplified way to just send the user output to the next user output. No. Okay. Okay. In this, because my second. Oh, okay. It's pretty funny. My second reason is Mapper is pretty funny. Just like write out immediately key and output. It's like the previous one. Thank you. That's enough.
I want to use
There's no other way. There has to be one way.
So give me the error or exception or something so I can look at the
Those. Fuck the mistake.
Yeah. So output directory is this
whenever you try to what to get to
然后每个类里面这些人基本上最终拿得了分。
You can do it by coding. Just so.
你问一下，你问一下。
This is my second lab.
做事。打后边了。那我这怎么做？
Yeah, this is the job.
我生成软件不是，就是我们设立一对比，但没有印度。
Both key and value are array.
Yeah.
啊，我靠！那我咋判断？那我咋判断？我判断清楚吗？我这还扣分儿。我操！
How are you going?
If I use all
How are you going? Yours?
for the assignment.
还有一个什么？
你弄怎么样了？你在问什么？
不是我，他说这个应该做完要能扣分吗？说是这个没有，我怎么没说？我想是我这建错的地方直接删了就行。
嗯？那个 region 为什么要删嘞？
不是我 region 建错地方，我建到 A 省。哇！
是会要重新 reset 一下吧？看能不能从 setting 上
需要问什么？
我还问assign，你assign是做什么的？
就我写完，但是他好像说的意思就不能用 text。你输出的词是不能是。
为什么？
就是它，因为它比较复杂，它那个括号，还有
Are you using my array
一直连着的，所以说你要
as key?
就不能直接是 text 的，直接拼写这种。
So you need to make sure that this array writable is also compatible if you are using it as a
Oh. So if I want to use the writable as text here.
So if you have a key, remember that key should implement both writable and comparable. So I don't think writable array writable is very
Okay, so if I want to become easy, I should not use array writable.
I would ask everyone to use custom writers way to reduce the lesson. So it's easier than just using array everything. Because at the moment you are using array for like the keys and values everywhere.
Because it is M1, M2, so I should use the text as M1, M2.
I cannot debug it like this. I need to spend some time reading your code to see the error. You can attend one of the labs to just compare.
Okay,
But I cannot do it like.
so if I use all the text writable, it will look smart.
So another thing.
Just make sure that you are, when you are defining your keys and values for mappers and the output of your job, they are correct. This is the first thing. The other one is to check if the class that you are using is comparable because you are using it as a key.
One thing I heard about is that whenever I had to do like text, use like text for the output or something. Like we can't like something like we can't just directly build a string ourselves. We have to specifically use
Custom writing.
or like have to use like a toString at the end for what we output. Because like currently I have like some toString, but all the toStrings we output is an output like basically these for every single one. And then afterwards I just like in the second reduce I like the data and then add these brackets around it. Is that okay? Or
We don't care about the intermediate keys and values, so as long as the output is fine.
after so there's no restriction on it. It just we should use our own writable and also
Yeah.
and also is it okay because like this is the output from the first producer and the right way around. Can I just like use a redundant SMS code like my current one with all the values?
Just yeah, have
Just like directly past.
Yeah.
Okay.
you can put your laptop here.
我问是不是只是做
Actually, I have like question whether what I'm doing is the reduced on basically. Actually, what I was thinking is that in the first mapper, I just make the input to be of this format. In the reducer part, what I was thinking is that having the combinations over here and producing keys like how
That's
many.
fine. That's
Yeah. So that.
okay. That's fine.
Yeah, so like when I'm like directly passing it to the second mapper, so it would be doing shuffle and sort, where I would be getting a IEEE kind of thing. So yeah, that should be fine, right? And actually for having a writable class, writable comparable, I was just referring to this old big data. Yeah, I was just referring this old big data course in entertainment, where they were having a compared to function getting overwritten. So like in this case, like this should we do this compared to function?
If your key is a complex object like movie,
Yeah.
which are two texts, yeah, you need to have a custom writable class, which is also comparable.
Okay.
And it is pretty easy. You just have the method.
Yeah, I will just do this way. Where I will be comparing the particular movie and which I'm getting from the writable.
Yeah.
So this should be fine.
Yeah.
About the intermediate, actually I don't know like how to map two different mappers and reducers. What I'm currently doing is that I'm just having this particular output and I've created a different project and working on that. So
You don't need to create two projects.
yeah, but
So I had sent a link to the CMS. Go to the assignment. Here, like modern mappers. Just look at here. Scroll down, scroll down. You see? One job, two jobs in one country.
okay.
The tips that I have, posted, they are for you, not me.
Like how about the writable classes? Like currently I was just for this particular one I'm having a different class, writable class, and for this movie I'm just having a different class for this alone. So that should be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
Or if you can have next week, if you're having the
Yes, there will be lab, but I am not having any lab for this course.
Thank you.
Sure.
Have a good day.
region, so I have to delete it.
I'm not good at Chinese.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, but I choose a.
Can you train
就得当你就基本
No,
上
I can't.
替代 VD 看就行，然后
So you create a new one. Just create it for you.
So do we have to finish this job here?
问题是你这个但你肯定把这个
So I can finish it
Later, it is just
Okay.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. And one more question. So in the final reducer, I mean, because we have created movie pair and user and race pair, in the reducer can we just plus the user and race pairs together, or we have to use every variable?
You should use other writable.
I mean,
Yeah, I got it too.
you got.
Yeah,
We have to use every.
if you want to get full marking.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And one more question. What is the document? What should be?
Just high level document, right? So, for example, give some example, but this was if this is the input, my first mapper would generate this output.
It's
and
like
then
a report.
very brief and high level report. Don't say like this is my mapper. I see that this is your mapper. Don't say it like this. Just stick in high level approach that you want for doing that assignment.
So do we also need to add some comments in the file?
I don't think so.
I don't. Thank
Because I have the step two steps, and yeah, because you just give a
So the one is your intermediate.
Yeah.
So if you have such a thing, just write it in your document.
okay for the documentation.
Yeah, because we need to
Yeah,
we
which
need to
is
know
the-
that which
the
one
true
is your
the
real
result.
output.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so first step, I update the improved test, and I use this code to run my
What happened?
files and Pyro. I don't know why. So instead of just hitting record drop it.
It is forbidden.
Yeah, it's forbidden. I
It means that you don't kind of why not one?
no.
The jar file.
It's not that one. Just I usually just I redo this step.
What was the So are you sure that your bucket name was my bucket? So you need to replace them.
Yeah. So the bucket name should be the one.
Yeah, exactly. The one that you created. That should be fine.
So that should be my bucket.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
No worries. You are trying to write on my file.
Okay. See.